So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to talk about something that I'm very excited about, which is a somewhat new tool for educational research and for educational researchers who are focused on the qualitative tradition. Today I'm going to talk to you about give you a little bit of background on QCA as it's commonly referred to, talk to you about what it's intended to do and how it actually works, and then I'm going to give you an overview of how I've used it in a forthcoming paper that's coming out on a study that I am conducting with Professor Janelle Scott at UC Berkeley, a national study of Teach for America alumni's career patterns or career pathways. So with that in mind, wanted to give you a little bit of background on why I use this particular method. So I am a mixed methods researcher, but I do primarily qualitative work. I really enjoy quantitative work. I really enjoy quantitative work, and so I'm oftentimes trying to find ways to bridge the two. I've done some mixed methods studies, and what I found oftentimes is that it's sometimes difficult to have the data speak to each other in a way that still maintains the integrity of the quantitative and the qualitative data. At the same time, I found that when I'm studying urban schools, particularly when I get inside of classrooms, it's challenging to arrive at certain types of conclusions based on the qualitative data that I have. It's also challenging to arrive at other conclusions with quantitative data. In particular, I found that I can go, as you well know, I can go deep, in depth into a localized case study, use various forms of qualitative data and bring that to bear on my analysis, or I can look broadly across urban schools and urban classrooms and look at a broad but not a deep data set and look at broad patterns. But I still feel like I'm missing something when I'm trying to understand the strength of different qualitative patterns that I see. So I found that there are certain methodological challenges to studying education, and in particular to studying urban education in an urban context. So one of the major challenges is that there are multiple factors that shape outcomes, as you know. So anytime you walk into an urban school, you're going to see that there are more than one reform efforts at play at any single moment. And how do we disentangle all the effects of these different reform efforts on the outcomes that we're interested in? And at the same time, I'm a policy analyst. So I also know that even outside of the school or the district where I'm looking, or the schools that I'm studying, there are multiple policies that are affecting how principals and teachers and families behave inside the schools, right? And so we have multiple reforms creating what is oftentimes referred to in the literature as reform turbulence. We have competing policies or overlapping policies, and it's difficult to disentangle all of them. And at the same time, we have the realities of urban context. We have high poverty communities. We have communities that include primarily families of color. We have high numbers of immigrant families in certain communities. We have English learners in very high numbers in certain urban contexts. All of these demographic conditions combine to make reform or school improvement challenging in an urban context. But from a research perspective, all of these contextual influences or realities make it difficult to disentangle exactly what happened and which pathways really did lead to which outcomes. So this is sort of where I was stuck in my thinking about sort of how I wanted to sort of reapproach some of my data analysis in my work. At the same time, we know that schools are complex social places, right? We're looking at social phenomena, so they're not straightforward. And we know that we rarely, if ever, find a single, very parsimonious set of factors that will predict 100% of the variance in an outcome. Most likely, we can be cautious in our claims about a set of certain factors that may be related to a certain outcome, right? And that's okay, because we have inherent limitations built into the kind of evidence that we can bring to bear on our work. Right? We have certain limitations in quantitative data. We have issues around multicollinearity. We look at interaction effects oftentimes in inferential statistics, but those interaction effects can be undermined by multicollinearity and other issues. Right? And you have, and in quantitative work, we typically sacrifice a degree of depth, right, in our data. In our qualitative data, we necessarily use a small number of cases, not always, sometimes a medium size, but it's smaller in range, and therefore we forego a degree of breadth. So we're always dealing with evidence that is constrained. So I've been looking for methods that will help me address these inherent limitations that I can't erase, but that I can at least try to address with different tools.